Alright, welcome back to another Play and Explain. This video might be a little different than the other ones as I'm unrusting in this video. I've been, not unrusting, but I haven't studied in a minute. I've been, a way I've been dealing with my downswing is by trying to just, as opposed to thinking in my head what's correct, explain more often. Of course, still playing pre-flop's kind of standard. I think Jack 8 here is close. I'm gonna fold it on a 7 versus 2.2. I'm pretty sure it's a pure fold versus 2.5. But yeah, so this video might be a little more. What's the word to put? What's the word to use? Different is not the word I'm looking for, but yeah, it's definitely gonna be more less concrete. Um, there's gonna be a lot more things people in the comments might disagree with, but yeah, been been doing pretty well recently, just doing off what I think is gonna make the most money as opposed to what I think is correct. I don't really care how exploitable I may be in certain actions. I just think my opponents are not. Like they might know a lot in some ways, maybe, but they don't play like they know a lot. Is the best way to put it. They're willing to be exploited, I think. So yeah. With that being said, though, still gonna be pretty standard. Nothing. I'm not reinventing the wheel over here. But yeah, been up a lot over the past couple days. So starting off this session good as well. 7-3 here also gonna be a fold. But yeah, I've been busy. Wow, I'm lagging. What is going on? I've been busy. Hanging out with people, so have not been playing as much. Plus, I just took a break, kind of, because I was burnt out from grinding through my downswing. Ace Jack out hurts here. Never gonna 4-bet. Obviously, blind versus blind. And checking range here. If the 4 was a different card, you could consider leading. I mean, maybe this hand would be in it. Here we can 5-bet this hand, or 4-bet this hand. But with this guy behind, I don't mind keeping him in. He's gonna have a lot of hands that we're dominating, like suit-wise. This line is just so weird. Going to fold here. Actually, this is close, but I don't mind folding. I think people blind versus blind are a little nittier than they should be in spots like this, and I'm gonna call here. It's kind of weird to have a double call hand. My hand's actually under rep though, because it doesn't really look like. Oh, I saw the 3 of hearts. It's like one of the better cards in the deck to hit. But now we're just gonna have to fold. It's tempting to float because you might have ace king. You know what, I'm gonna do it. And if he shoves, we just fold. And ace is probably clean, kind of. I don't really know what his range looks like. But yeah, we're just gonna fold turn here. I don't think he ever has a hand that we're not crushed by. We're priced in basically to hit like a gut shot. Just gonna fold. And it's probably close price-wise because you're calling 20. Would have probably had to call down on that card. I don't really like the way I played that hand, but whatever. What can I do? The flop float is sometimes people give up in that spot. And I really don't put him on that strong of a hand. Maybe we should have called turn. But it is what it is. We would have had to call river. Which would have been funny. Here we can check on this card. So that's what we're gonna do. I don't know if I really like my line. The thing is ace 5 is pretty live. You don't really know what's live, and ace is usually kind of live versus that range. And yeah. Going to just call. Sucks that 5-6 gets there, but what can I do? We have the 10 of hearts as well. Wow. I think here you just bet half pot a lot. And opponent has a really kind of cool spot to bluff. We could even bet 30. Actually, yeah. Probably just has an ace, right? Wow. No jam. That is interesting. Like, if I have ace queen here, like, I'm gonna have to call sometimes, right? I was debating jamming this river, actually, because I thought, like, my opponent might just call as ace-x. Like, as an exploit. Or not even an exploit. In theory, it makes sense to have jams. And I was thinking about it. Actually, I actually very much prefer that if opponent isn't shoving ace-king for value, if opponent isn't re-raising enough as a bluff, or let's say he's never re-raising a bluff, which there's a chance here that my opponent will not, like, turn a hand like, I don't know, 5-6s into a bluff. That's like, for some players in the pool, it's very profitable bluff because they just won't call any of their ace-x. Some call way like too many, but because you have to imagine when let's say I have king queen here and I take this line and I bet if he shoves you, he instantly beats all my bluffs too. So that's why bluffing can be pretty profitable. Yeah, I think the shove is definitely a realistic option. I think ace king might even be good enough to shove that river. So. But yeah, I think shove there would have made sense. My opponent gave no thought to jamming, which is I thought was kind of interesting. It's very rare you're beat there. I mean, the only hand is like 10-10 aces. Like, I don't think 5-6 ever takes this line, where it checks flop, and actually, I guess 5-6 could. But it's like not really common. Like, let's be real. Like, I'm probably gonna see bet flop most of the time with 5-6 here. Yeah, it's just a lack of thought for jamming. It's kind of a little bit questionable. I don't mind if he took forever and then decided to call. He could have his reasons, but to act like there is no thought behind like not jamming there is kind of crazy. It just shows that you're not even thinking about like how profitable a spot that could be to bluff. Like, if I'm never calling ace queen there, like why don't you just bluff it so often? Granted, I don't have ace queen off too often, but like let's say ace jack suited, even ace 9 suited, ace 8 suited, ace 5 suited, right? Because there was not even a 5. There was a 4, right? But he blocks ace 4 suited. There's one combo left of it. And ace 5 would be a great bluff catcher. Or not great, because I don't think he checks back a straight on the turn. That would be kind of, I don't think, profitable. But I mean, it's not actually, no, it's definitely a fine spot to check. But, so we flop a set here. Obviously, a spot where you're gonna have a lot of bluffs. So even multi-way, there's so many hands like in the big one that can wrap. You're gonna have offsuit 7-6 and stuff. Well, maybe not, but I'm just gonna overbet here. I think anything I want to bet here does want to overbet. I'm gonna have a lot of gut shots and random shit. Opponents are gonna have a lot of check back, weaker ace-x. Some might hit the queen. I mean, if they hit the queen, it's queen, whatever. But they might have. I don't know. I just think basically if we want to bluff this spot, we want to overbet as well. I don't think I want to reopen like one pair ace-x, for example. I'm fine with checking that in. And I think it's a profitable spot to overbluff anyway. I could go for the slow play, but I think versus that line, people just don't give you enough credit as having enough bluffs in the slow played spot multi-way. Which is why they're kind of profitable to bluff. No raise on the flop, but also like the fact that he's a call. I'm just gonna bet like a miscellaneous, like a, I don't know. Obviously it's a spot that makes sense to overbet, but I basically just want to fold out his non-ace-x, non-4x that floated. So if I overbet, it's a fish, right? So you don't need to be balanced. I think even half pot's okay, but yeah, I like for the B75. Fold out his random floats, because some fish do like to float. So you're gonna have to put in a second C bet like pretty often. And here, we'll just go for the 1/3 here. You could play an overbet strategy. Actually, on a 28, we'll check. Why not? Fuck it. Whatever. Let's do something a little weird. I'm playing a lot of heads up, so I've been simplifying a lot of my strategies like on these boards. But in 6 max, you do actually. I mean, heads up, you also have to actually keep things complicated, but I don't know. Different sizings. Like you can play a lot more overbet or check because you have a tighter range. You have more nuts to build a solid overbet strategy. And heads up, you can, but you usually have to play multiple sizings. If you like no luck to 1 on the button, you're gonna be playing a lot of sizings. And here I'm almost tempted to raise him, but I don't think it's fun. Like just to bluff him off a chop, but he might have king 10, or he has a hand like this, which is just killing me. He probably just thought I had a jack. Good thing we did not raise to bluff him off the chop. I said that, but the more I looked at the board, I realized he could be blocking a lot of other shit. And here at this table, I'm just gonna close because I only want 6 for a while I'm recording. But yeah, gonna do a review of these hands. But like I said, I've been kind of, I don't know. I noticed that a lot of my, it wasn't necessarily probably making me play worse, my theory play, but I've been enjoying taking a little bit of a break from studying. When I study, I get really into it, and it's not really a bad thing, to be honest. But some of these players, I need to be I need to be thinking more of actually what they're doing when I play. And I noticed I was probably not doing that as much as I should be. Needed to live in the real world, I guess. Here, I think smaller strategy is fine. I think bigger is fine too, but whatever, we'll go smaller. It attacks a lot of his under pairs, which is going to be a lot of his flats. And here I like the overbet. You could also just do a half pot strategy around value betting ace jack and stuff, but I think with this hand, we'll go for the overbet. Actually, I'm going to go for the half pot. I wanted to call out his jack and 10x and turn trips. And also, it's probably the most profitable strategy to bluff, to be honest. You can just bluff a lot of hands there. I think if I wanted overbet, I'd want a straight. I wouldn't want to block my opponent's 2 pairs. Obviously, we do have the huge straight advantage, but that doesn't mean we should overbet top set. We want to keep our opponent's 3x in. Okay, obviously he doesn't have 3x. What am I talking about? We want to keep our opponent's, like, you would call queen jack, I think, for an overbet, but we want to keep jack 9 and random shit like that in. 10-9. Because when he turns trips, we usually get called on the river for a big size. And also just having some stronger hands in our half pot. Also good. He checks. I think we just check here. I think our hand's actually okay. Like, we don't necessarily want to get raised because a king or a queen is usually pretty clean here. So I'm going to check. And I'm probably going to check turn again. First, this room was priced in to call, so we're going to call. This guy does this weird thing when he bets 10. His 10% is really weak, so I'm just gonna raise. He might hero call me, but whatever. That's my read on his 10%. It's just weak. I shouldn't say that on a video. He does like to block bet trap, but it's usually bigger than 10. His 10%, like, I wouldn't be surprised he's going for value with ace high there. So, yeah. Alright, I just checked my phone, and my girlfriend just broke her 10k PER. So, yeah, she's an absolute beast. So I'm gonna have to run after this. Was not counting on that, but finally got my sub 20 5k the other day. A bit of a non-poker flex, if it is one. Yeah. Maybe I'll post a running video as well. Become a lifestyle channel. Queen 10 just gonna open. But yeah, should be more consistent with the videos. I say this every video, but I do enjoy it. My poker grind has just been, I don't know, kind of not been on it as much as I want to be over the last couple months. The downswing really made me kind of complacent in terms of my just enjoyment for the game. And here, taking this line, I'm just gonna go with the non-mix anymore. Here, I think you can consider raising sometimes, but I'm just gonna call this in. It's kind of weird. The more standard of line you take for some of these players, you kind of know exactly how they play their hands when you take standard lines. Whereas sometimes, let's say I do something weird like raise the flop there or something like this, I don't know exactly how my opponent's gonna respond. Been noticing that a lot recently, where playing like these really standard lines, I feel like I can just make such good decisions versus my opponents. So that's one thing. I think versus the good regs, it's obviously important to just not be predictable, but um, at the same time, like there's not really, you know exactly. I think we just have to call here. He just has so many bluffs, but yeah. Because some of these regs do over exploit, and some of them are actually just they don't really care what you're doing. They just do what they're doing. So you can just play standard stuff. Like some regs over adjust. So if you do a tricky line like check back turn, and then just like 3x pot river, they call you, or they never call it, or one of the two. Going to call here on a 65 with this guy behind it. It's increased EV, but saw the 5 first. Had high hopes, but I think here you can do both. You can raise flop. I don't mind the raise flop. Because if he folds me off, let's say with the flush draw, I don't really mind. So I'm going to raise. Like if he rips here with like, let's say ace jack of spades, I don't give a fuck. I'm okay with folding. He's like ahead of me, or he's like flipping. And then if he has an overpair, I'm dead. So you kind of get to find out where you're at and you get to protect your hand. Like as you see on this run out, we would have lost. So. And sometimes they float ace king and then, yeah. I mean, we have some nice turn cards for us. Like a 3 or a 7. Right? When he calls, which is kind of nice. And I wonder in theory if you're supposed to raise call this hand. I don't think ever. I mean, maybe, because he's probably supposed to be very aggressive versus your raise, but in practice, I just don't think these players are. Because in theory, like, okay, you're not supposed to have a 6 that often, so a lot of your raises are still protection things with pairs, and you have the overpair advantage. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's supposed to just be, like, very aggressive, but in practice, that's just not happening. You don't play that spot enough out versus that player enough times. Where they're going to know that they need to be aggressive. And most people, I would say, in population are not aggressive enough in that spot, so they're not used to seeing it. I don't know if I said everything I wanted to say there, but whatever. I guess first to 1/3 we'll call, and ace is probably okay. So we're getting pretty good outside the pot. This guy's a fish on a 10. Yeah. Could have considered raise. Actually, you know what? I regret not raising. I think, oh wow, never mind. Wrong read. I'm going to fold here with ace queen off. Going to fold here. And down here we were tanking. What happened? I think I 1/3 flop. Actually, I could overbet here. Prefer the overbet. Sets us up for a good river shove. I don't know if I acted out a turn here. He blocks. The block is just not bluffed enough here. Could consider calling, but I'm gonna call here. King. Yikes. Thinking through might get in here. Oh no. Wow. This guy is pretty stationy, and there's a lot of potential gut shots and stuff we can bluff here. I'm just gonna raise this pure if he c-bets. As long as the 6 or a jack doesn't come off, I expect to get called down a lot. Wow, we're just flopping every set, aren't we? Jack comes off, 10-9 gets there. That's going to be a half pot for me. I'm just going to call with the fish behind. Could consider raising, but hopefully he does. And on the river, whatever. If he has 10-9, he has 10-9. That's 4 combos. If he has queens, he has queens. If he has jacks, he has jacks. Good luck us. Well, nice hand. He checks. I'm almost tempted to just go all in. No, that's bad. We just go half pot here. Yeah. Ace King is kind of in a weird spot. Holy fuck. Okay, we went from hopefully he doesn't have aces to hopefully he has aces. I expect to get called a lot here. If he has ace king, I think he can find the fold, maybe. Yeah, that slight tank makes me think. Yeah, it's probably ace king. Flop jam might have been considerate, but with the fish behind. Because when he picks that size in the flop, I expect him to. How does this? I expect him to almost call all his ace x. Just because there's the flush draw out there. And then this guy is pretty. Like, he definitely leans on the side of being a station. And then I would say. I'm gonna call this race here. Then I would say all those under pairs I'm not usually getting any more value from anyway. In fact, I would rather them just fold because I'm not getting any more value. And the only thing they can do is, let's say he had queens there in this hand. We would rather him just fold queens, right? Like we're never gonna get one more street of value. I mean, unless this is the exact run out, unless a queen comes out and a 7 comes off, right? But that's not really gonna happen very often. So I think if we had shoved flop, but we had the fish behind, so I don't mind the play. And obviously, in theory, the reason why you mainly call there is you're protecting your calling range, you have some like auto call downs, but these people are just not aggressive enough where you're just getting exploited. They're not like, oh, he's raising a lot of his stronger hands on the flop, I'm gonna over bluff, right? It's just not happening. So you just take the line that gets you the most money. And generally, versus people who don't bluff enough, fast playing your hands is usually almost always the best strategy. I mean, you have to be careful though. There is a line where some people will pick up on your tendencies, right? Like there's some players in the pool I know exactly how they play certain portions of the range, so I can make very big exploits on them. But those are players I have a lot of hands on, and they might think they're just exploiting me, but I definitely know. Like for example, if you are gig always fast playing your value, then let's say in a line where you call, and then the river you bet, you're probably gonna have slightly less value, and you're gonna be more weighted to bluffs because you're fast playing a lot of it. Stuff like that. Just the easy fold here. We should be mixing this, but I just like opening up here because I'm a little degen. But it's one thing I might change about my game. But for now, I don't mind it. I'm going to call here. Actually, I've been trying to think a little more in these types of spots, but I still think it's a good call. Nice. And we're just gonna put it in with this fish and this fish. We'll call this in. But yeah, some spots I've been recreational, so I don't want to be overcalling. Right here, just playing a little 1/3. Video's been going on for 29 minutes. But yeah, I should be trying to post more. I think I might, when I feel like recording, record multiple videos and then just private some and then upload them. Because sometimes the games are just not that good for videos. Right now there's a lot of regs playing. Versus recreationals I don't like. I don't know, I make some weirder exploits that I'm pretty confident in. But yeah. And here I think we do want to overbet. Probably a 175 spot, but whatever. And I didn't talk too much about this, but Not blocking. He shouldn't have 9-7 or 10-7 off, so the blockers are pretty bad. Here, normally we're supposed to size down, but versus recreational, I'm gonna 4-bet to a bigger size. Actually, at this depth, it's probably okay as well. I don't mind it. Like, he might just rip kings, ace king on me. I'm looking for the shove. We do not get it. I think in theory, I know at 100 bigs we're supposed to size down there, but I don't mind it. It's a tight position, and yeah. So here we just called, and we're gonna check fold this flop. Snap check back. I think with double bad suits. Part of his like checking range might be queen jack of spades. Ace queen's not in it. It might be aces with a diamond, like ace of spades is a diamond, so it's one thing, but I think ace jack just slightly too much showdown here. I mean, I think a block bet's like pretty profitable. But I do think my opponent actually is just always has something when he checks here. Like I actually think a lot of people just stab ace queen, ace king here. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he just has a value bet here, like nines, tens, something that he played like this. Oh, okay, or he just beat ace 10. I don't know. I think from these positions, this board is just too good for you. The queen high. Like having all ace queen off and we having no offsuit queen x anymore. It's just. I'm gonna check here and see what he does. Here versus the fish. I don't mind building the pot versus a big bet. How often does this guy fold here? Whatever. I'm just gonna bet 4 bigs here. I don't know if this guy checks back an ace or not, but whatever. We're gonna try. It's just a set. I don't like check. Let's bet half pot. I kind of like it. And now we're just gonna have to check full. I don't think this guy folds enough here. I mean, in theory, it could be a pretty profitable spot, but whatever. He just has a queen, I think, very often. Yeah. The reason I like half pot on this turn, I don't expect the fold equity to really be there, but I kind of like the way it lines up on a blue card. But maybe the check makes more sense. Maybe the call on the flop makes most sense, but I like to be the aggressor out of position in these spots deeper. 100 bigs, I would have played that hand differently. I know the recreational doesn't. I basically have no fold equity, which is what makes the hand kind of weird. Like I kind of just know the recreational's B75 just doesn't have that many folds, and then on the turn I know it doesn't really have that many folds. So maybe I should just not bet and check. But like check call and then donk on a diamond, that doesn't seem very good. Check get fold doesn't seem good. I don't know. Maybe 1/3. Yeah. I'm just thinking a lot more about things like this. Like, I mean, I don't really care what a computer says there, because I just know a recreational's B75 range, what it's gonna look like there, and it's not gonna have many turn folds, no matter what sizing you pick. Yeah, this guy specifically as well. And you don't need to be balanced. Like I can just pick a value, what I would do with my value, and because he's not folding, and what I would do with bluffs or semi bluffs like that. Yeah. But I think, yeah, the 100 bigs I wouldn't have raised flop, I think, because he just doesn't have folds, and I don't think raising a pen like that without fold equity, it's not a combo draw. A combo draw obviously is like, it could be ahead of made hands. I'm gonna fold here. But yeah, let me know. Like you can be anyone who watches this video. I'm welcome to some criticism. I'm really curious if anyone would have played a hand differently than me. I don't really kind of drop my ego a lot recently. In the sense that I'm pretty confident in the way I play, in the sense that I watch a lot of other people play, and a lot of people actually make a lot of mistakes if you nitpick their videos. So I'm not as I don't care too much about the mistakes I make in my videos. I'm well aware that I could probably, assuming perfect play, up my win rate by a couple of big blinds, or like maybe 1 or 2. But I'm more so focused on just kind of improving right now. in a non-studying way, just like the way I think when I play. I want to get better at it because I've noticed I've been kind of slacking. Also, let me know if anyone plays fantasy football because the season's starting soon and I'm pretty excited. Or just watch this football in general. I'm a big football guy. I do think pre-flop is important to play solid though. I will say. That's my opinion. At least for me. I make some deviations, but there's a line. Like this should be a fold. It's got 5 bigs too. Hopefully this guy just like rips or some dumb fish thing. Okay, I think we just go all in. I mean, a non-all-in size is actually kind of decent here. Well, the aces are... actually... I think if we go to like this, he's gonna have to call most flops. Like it's 11 more bigs, and he's gonna have to call a lot of flops. It just sucks when it comes ace high, which is 1 in 6 times, but whatever. No ace high, so... I mean, he might have queens or tens. Didn't rip them, but we would have got those in pre anyway. Just now, if we would have ran it twice, I guess I might have lost some money, but whatever. I don't really. Snap. King 10. So you see, the non-shove actually worked. Good job, Carter. Oh, I just doxed my name. Yeah, good thing I thought about that one. I mean, maybe we would have called off King 10, but here we're just gonna call this size. Can't shove, I think, this deep. I think queens could consider, but I think jacks is just a step under. It matters a lot. So running jacks into queens here is just one more, whereas versus the other way around. Not to mention cold 4 is pretty tight. Going to call here. I think we can lead on this card. I think jacks is also an okay hand to do it. He basically never has jack 10 suited, and we do. And also, denying the ace king equity isn't the worst here. How often does this guy have a 10 or a flush? Shoving seems kind of shit here, though, doesn't it? Check call might be better. Looking for the check back. This spot's kind of weird. I have to think. Because I think like he just doesn't have any bluffs. Like he was debating bluffing that hand, I think. Like, right? So it's weird. Like I'm basically like because he shouldn't call ace king anymore on the turn. I mean maybe like low frequency, right? But like because he is getting a good price, so it's not like he can never have it, right? Hand I would say is weird. If we checked and then check called, we probably would have made more money because we would have donk shoved the river. But yeah. Maybe the river's just so much better for us that we're just supposed to shove everything. Like opponent might just call aces there with a diamond as a bluff catch. I don't really know what hand in my range but he would beat anymore. Like ace jack, king jack. But yeah. The shove from him would have been pretty decent, but yeah. Because he does have some like low seated ace X. I'll just go to this. I expect the block to be weak. Gonna call after taking this long. Maybe I should have shoved. Whatever. I feel like he calls like a lot more than half the time, more often here when I go that size. The fish, so I decided to not jam. But yeah, that spot's kind of weird. Like obviously it makes sense to lead turn as me, because like basically every hand I call hits somewhat. Like obviously main bluffs are gonna be like ace jack I flipped or something. It's really hard for him to rejam over the top profitably. I mean, I'll just muck my bluffs and call with the hands that are good enough to call with. Worst case, he gets priced in with aces, but it's kind of like obvious. Like it's really hard for him to jam anymore. And also, people just yeah. So we get to realize our equity a lot more. And every card that comes off is gonna always be better for us there. I mean, I can't think of like it's not like if an ace or a king comes off, it's better for his ace king, but he doesn't make any more nutted hands on almost any river because of how more often like his hands are his range is like a lot of aces and kings. So yeah. The 9 is just a good card. We have 9s. He almost never has 9s, right? We have Jack 10. He almost never has Jack 10. He probably never has Jack 10 or 9s. If I'm being real. He might have 9s low frequency, actually. 36 minutes in. I'll review some stuff for the video because I still think some things are important to review. And I haven't been studying much, but I'll study for the videos. But if some things are off, I don't really care. I'll point out some interesting things. Because you still have to have some standard things like flop sizings and pre-flop. Those things should be pretty constant, I think. Outside of playing versus recreationals, you can adjust. And here I should have probably just shoved. Here I probably should have just gone all in because I don't think he has a call anymore. After checking 3 times, like I mean, he's just not calling me, right? One heart? Oh my god. So here with this guy behind, actually kind of. Okay, and I'm just gonna shove all in versus this guy. 9 bigs in the middle. Probably like ahead of him on average. Yeah, we got him crushed. He wants it once. Nice. It's been a while since I've won some all-ins. Feels like I don't win the smaller big one ones ever. I've been upswinging though, so I'm not complaining. I think I'm like on my like 6th or 5th winning session in a row. I don't know what the fuck happened here, but whatever. Seems fine. Kinda zoned out. I think this is a fine size, like ace 5, ace whatever the fuck. There's a lot of hands like king queen, jack 10. Oh, also, just the spot is both players don't usually call worse than an ace. Here this is a fine fold. Either's fine. My PC is being laggy right now, so I'll try and get that fixed for the next video. I don't know why that is. But some of these multi-way spots are just super overfolded, so I don't mind. People usually turn their brain off if they don't hit a lot of equity on the flop multi-way. And people don't like bluff catching as much, because, yeah. Alright, and I'm gonna wrap this video up in a sec. Let me know if anyone likes watching my videos, what they would like to see. Because I am trying to post a lot, but I'm pretty hard on myself sometimes about the videos I put out. I don't like posting videos just to post. Right now I kind of felt like recording a video, so I decided that, you know what, I had a lot of dumb shit to say, so I was like, okay, I'll record. Especially when I'm not playing that solid, I guess is the word to play. Like I'm playing, I can win, but I'm not playing like in a way where I think I'd be educational. And here I think we can just be 70. We have so many bluffs here. We should just be 75. Like whatever. Opponent Bilms never has a 5. If he raised us, I would probably just go all in with this one. Because we actually have a lot of 2 pairs played. Because we're not leading all our 8-7 and 7-6 on the turn. And then on the river it becomes the nuts. Even almost any of our boats. So it's kind of a tricky spot for him to raise as a bluff. We're really uncapped. Oh yeah, definitely trying to get more on my red line. I think I got hero called a lot, and I was not in the mood to bluff as much for a period of time because I was downswinging, and I think I was just like sometimes you just run like you hit a streak of variance where you're just getting called. That's just bound to happen. And I realized just most of the time when I put my opponent in a tough spot, they end up folding. Even if they know I could be bluffing a lot, it doesn't really matter. People don't like putting a lot of their money in with weaker hands consistently. They might get the urge once or twice, but a lot of people aren't that consistent. And usually the people who call too much, you can just tag them and then you start printing with value versus them. And their upswing versus you doesn't last too long because you just start never bluffing. It's very rare that you'll find opponents that are like good enough to be right on the equilibrium. Usually it's either I can think of a couple opponents in Ontario right now that are just giga overcalling me heads up that I can just. There's some nodes that there's just no point of ever having bluffs because their bluff catchers are so linear and they're calling all of them. Like for example on a double paired board where they have ace high. If you overbet the pot like 150, they're supposed to be mixing a lot of their ace high, but they're just calling it pure because they think you can have a lot of bluffs, which is true. You just don't bluff anymore, and they just pay you 150% pot and you have it. Here, this guy does 4-bet bluff a lot. We were deeper at the start of the hand. I guess we'll call. Wow. We do have ace queen. So what if we hit a king and then an ace? King of diamonds, please, one time. We could play some raises here. Actually, don't mind it. Do not mind it. I'm gonna shove. Like, yeah. Here is kind of a good triple barrel. So we 1/3 flop, turn jack. We'll go with the B75, fold to a gem. On the double draw, I just expect my opponent to fast play a lot of his shit, so. Yeah. So Wade's kind of a mergey bet. Like on that deuce river, we might have been able to check back. I'm gonna fold here when he's shorter. The reason I'm on the jam there is sometimes we might want to just rip ace queen. Not to mention, I just don't think this spot comes off very often, and I think my hand performs better as a jam. So I don't mind it. We get that fold equity, and when we're called, we have like 50%. And if he ever has like these lower flush draw hands, then we kill him. And we're almost never cooler. Like our flush is almost always live. So we have the SF out. We have the straight draw out. We have the backdoor straight draw out because the queen wraps pretty nice. Like on that 8 turn, we would have had a 9 as well. And I think once we call flop, we have less fold equity now. Well, not less fold equity, but his becomes less appealing to do so. Here we can do both. I'm just gonna check. I don't know why I checked, but whatever. Anyway, my head's kind of a mess right now. I'm gonna be wrapping up the video in a sec. Here if he bets. I don't mind betting here. I think opponent bets almost all his check X now. And I think he can call a lot of worse two pairs. So yeah, anyway, gonna wrap up the video. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'm out.